it feels like every single day, we wake up to some new headline about AI,
Yeah.
and it just completely rewrites what we thought was possible. The pace, it's just astounding. So let's unpack this a bit. Today, we're doing a deep dive into some recent articles and research. We've kind of centered it around this fantastic piece called AI Milestones. From Math Olympiads to protein design by AI Deep Dive, our mission for you, well, it's to cut through all that noise, pull out the really important insights, and maybe uncover some surprising facts about what's happening right at the cutting edge of AI.
Yeah, we've gathered key stories here. They range from like incredible intellectual achievements, the Math Olympiad stuff, to big strategic business moves, and even some truly groundbreaking science applications. This deep dive is really meant to be your shortcut, get you well informed, give you those aha moments, and hopefully keep it interesting, maybe even a little bit fun. What's really fascinating, I think, is seeing how these different pieces, these seemingly separate news items, actually connect. They paint a much bigger picture of AI's evolution, how fast it's moving, and in so many different directions at once.
And what a picture it is. Okay, let's kick things off with something genuinely remarkable. AI models from both OpenAI and Google DeepMind hitting gold medal scores in the 2025 International Math Olympiad, the IMO. Now, this isn't just, any old competition. It's one of the world's oldest, toughest high school math contests. So the significance here, it feels huge. What does this actually tell us about how fast AI is advancing? And maybe how it shakes up the competition between these tech giants?
Oh, it screams volumes about the speed. Just how fast these systems are getting better.
Yes.
And maybe even more importantly, how incredibly close the race seems to be now between Google and OpenAI. It's not just about hitting technical marks anymore. It's also this intangible battle, right? For public perception, for grabbing the best AI talent. And you have to remember, a lot of top AI researchers, they come from competitive math backgrounds.
Yep.
So the IMO benchmark, that really hits close to home for them. And think about the jump. Just last year, Google's system, it was formal. It needed a human to translate the problems first.
Yeah, I remember that.
But this year, totally different. Both OpenAI and Google used informal systems. The AI could just read the problem, natural language, like you or I would, and then generate the proof, the answer, directly. No human translation needed. Both companies are saying their models got 5 out of 6 questions right. That's better than most of the human students, and way better than Google's own AI last year.
Wow. That leap from needing translation to just handling natural language, that's really something. Now, researchers from both sides are saying these gold medals show breakthroughs in AI reasoning, particularly in what they call non-verifiable domains. Can you break that down a bit? What does that mean?
Sure. So in a non-verifiable domain, the right answer isn't always a simple, checkable math proof. It needs more nuance, more kind of human-like judgment interpretation, like dealing with ambiguity in the real world.
Okay.
It's a big step beyond just number crunching.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, they also said these systems still struggle with vaguer things like, buy a great chair or doing really complex open-ended research.
Right.
So it highlights that gap, doesn't it, between solving a well-defined math problem and navigating the messiness of the real world.
And speaking of messy, this whole success story actually turned into a bit of a public argument, didn't it? Almost like kids fighting over who announced it first. Sounds like the AI world might need a referee. What happened there?
Well, yeah, it sort of raises this tricky question about evaluation standards, especially when things are moving so fast. So Feng Luong, he's the senior researcher for Google DeepMind's IMO project. He said Google deliberately waited to announce. Out of respect for the students, they said. They worked with the IMO organizers, got official grading, the IMO president's okay, and then announced on Monday. And Luong was pretty clear. He said, any evaluation that's not based on that guideline could not make any claim about gold medal level performance. Basically calling out OpenAI's method.
Okay, so that's Google's side. What about OpenAI?
Well, Noam Brown, a senior researcher there, he explained it differently. He said the IMO had reached out months before about a formal competition, but OpenAI declined. They were focused on their natural language systems. Brown said OpenAI didn't even know the IMO was doing this separate informal test with Google. So, to check their own model, OpenAI hired 3 former IMO medalists as independent evaluators.
Oh.
Then, after they got their gold medal score, they contacted the IMO, who apparently told them, yeah, just wait until after the official award ceremony on Friday.
So you have Google emphasizing the official process and OpenAI kind of doing their own thing, but using credible experts. It sounds like Google's point about rigorous standards is fair, but maybe this whole spat misses the bigger picture.
Exactly. I mean, the argument itself highlights a real challenge in AI right now. How do we set up reliable, accepted benchmarks? How do we ensure transparent evaluation when models are improving almost weekly?
Yeah.
This lack of a standard protocol isn't just about corporate bragging rights. It could actually affect trust and our ability to compare systems as AI gets used in more critical areas. But yeah, stepping back, the main story isn't really who shouted gold first. It's that the top AI models from these major labs are getting incredibly good, incredibly fast. Only a tiny fraction, like a few percent, of the human competitors at the IMO. The best young math minds globally scored as well as these AIs did. That's the truly mind-blowing part.
So it really does circle back to that vibe race, doesn't it? OpenAI, for a while, felt like they had this clear lead. But now...
Well, it certainly feels like the race is much, much closer than maybe any of these companies want to admit. And OpenAI is expected to drop GPT-5 soon, right? You can bet they're hoping that reestablishes a sense of continued leadership.
Okay, so from conquering super complex math, let's pivot to how AI is conquering, well, our everyday lives. The sheer scale of adoption. How many of us are actually using these tools daily? Get this statistic. ChatGPT apparently gets 2.5 billion prompts from users across the globe every single day, and about 330 million of those are just from the US.
Those numbers are. They're massive, and it's not just about the scale, is it? It hints at something deeper, a real shift in how we interact with information. We seem to be moving from just searching and finding things, like with Google, toward more of a conversing and creating model.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not just about finding knowledge anymore. It's about generating it with AI. We're weaving these tools right into our daily work, our daily lives.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty fundamental shift, potentially redefining our whole digital experience.
Just to give that some context, think about Google search. Now, Alphabet doesn't release daily numbers, but estimates put Google at around 5 trillion searches a year. That averages out to, what, just under 14 billion searches per day?
Right.
So ChatGPT isn't quite at Google's level yet, obviously, but it's growth. It's explosive.
That's the key thing, the growth. Just 8 months ago, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said ChatGPT was getting over 1 billion queries daily.
Wow, so it's more than doubled.
More than doubled in less than a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's clearly moving beyond being just a niche tool. It's becoming a core part of how a lot of people get things done online.
Okay, let's switch gears again. We've talked software, we've talked usage. Now let's look at the hardware, the bedrock of all this AI. The chips. Specifically, let's talk about a South Korean AI chip startup called FuriosaAI. Big news with them recently. They turned down an $800 million acquisition offer from Meta, decided to stay independent.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is why the deal apparently fell apart. Reportedly, it wasn't the price tag. It was disagreements over what would happen after the acquisition. Business strategy, how the company would be structured within Meta. And you see Meta's interest here, right? It fits their bigger picture strategy. They want to rely less on outside suppliers, especially, the big one, NVIDIA.
Yeah.
FuriosaAI's CEO, June Cake, put it quite clearly. He said, "We want to continue our mission. I believe it's a very impactful contribution to make AI computing more sustainable." So they chose independence in their own path.
So instead of selling out, FuriosaAI turned around and announced a pretty major partnership. They're supplying their AI chip, called RNGD, to companies using LG AI Research's new platform, X01. And apparently this RNGD chip is specifically optimized for large language models, like the ones powering ChatGPT. And X01 4.0 is LG's latest AI model.
Right. If you look at the bigger picture, this partnership is targeting some key industries: electronics, finance, telecoms, biotech, lots of different applications. And LG AI choosing Furiosa's chip, that's actually pretty noteworthy. As PI pointed out, it's one of the few public endorsements of a rival to NVIDIA by a major enterprise.
Okay.
So it really signals that the market might be opening up. Viable alternatives to NVIDIA are starting to gain traction.
So what does all this competition in the AI chip world mean for you listening? Is it just industry inside baseball, or does it signal something bigger about AI hardware maybe moving beyond NVIDIA's dominance?
Well, it definitely highlights this growing push for alternatives. For diversification, companies are looking for specialized hardware that might give them an edge, maybe on cost, maybe on performance, for specific tasks. FuriosaAI's main selling point seems to be lower hardware costs. Paik said, essentially, they had to prove their solution wasn't just powerful, but also cheaper to run overall the total cost of ownership.
Right, efficiency.
Exactly. And they're making some bold claims. They say their RNGD chip outperformed competing GPUs on LG's AI models, delivering 2.25 times better inference performance.
Okay, inference performance. That's basically how fast the AI can process information and give you an answer, right?
Precisely. How quick and efficient it is in actual operation.
Eh.
And they also claim it's significantly more energy efficient, which is a huge deal these days.
That is a huge claim. And their unique angle is that this chip isn't a general-purpose GPU like NVIDIA's often are. It was built just for AI.
That's what Paik emphasized. He said, we can support a wide variety of AI models efficiently, but then clarified. Unlike GPUs, which are still fundamentally general-purpose processors, our architecture is natively built for AI computing. We do not develop our chip for rendering or mining. It's purely for AI tasks.
Got it.
And it's pretty impressive when you think about FuriosaAI's size. They're based in Seoul, apparently have a global team of just 15 people.
15? Wow.
Yeah, tiny compared to the giants,
Yeah.
but making serious waves. And Paik hinted that this LG partnership could open doors globally, far beyond just South Korea.
Okay, one more major pivot. From hardware back to a completely different but maybe equally profound application. AI in biology, specifically drug discovery. Let's talk about a company called Latent Labs. They just came out of stealth mode, raised $50 million, and launched a web-based AI model designed for, get this, programming biology.
Yeah, and the background here is key. The founder and CEO, Simon Cole, he's a scientist who used to co-lead the protein design team for DeepMind's AlphaFold project, so serious credentials.
Not AlphaFold. Okay.
Right. And their new model, Latent X, they say it's achieved state-of-the-art. Results on various metrics when they actually tested the proteins it designed in a real lab. Cole mentioned that a high percentage of the proteins the model creates turn out to be viable, which is, critically important.
So what this means is revolutionary, really. Latent X lets researchers, biotech startups, even big pharma companies design totally new proteins right in their web browser using natural language commands. We're talking about creating things like nanobodies, antibodies, these tiny custom-built proteins used in drug development with atomic structures that might not even exist in nature. The potential is to develop new medicines much, much faster.
And it raises that important question. How is this different from something like AlphaFold, which people might have heard of?
Yeah, good point.
Cole makes a really crucial distinction. He says, AlphaFold is a model for protein structure prediction. It allows you to visualize existing structures, but it doesn't let you generate new proteins.
Okay. Prediction versus creation.
Exactly. Latent X, on the other hand, is specifically built to design entirely new proteins from the ground up. That's the game changer. It really sort of democratizes access to this incredibly advanced protein design capability.
And their business model reflects that too, right? They're licensing the model out to other organizations.
That's right, which is different from other AI drug discovery companies like, say, Zyra or Recursion or even Isomorphic Labs, which spun out of DeepMind. Those companies tend to focus on developing their own proprietary drugs using AI. Latent Labs is taking a different approach. Cole basically said, look, not every company can build its own AI models, run its own AI infrastructure, hire its own AI teams.
Makes sense.
So by licensing Latent X, they're making this powerful tool available much more broadly. And apparently the basic version is free right now, though they plan to charge for more advanced features later.
That really is democratizing, making this kind of advanced biotech accessible. And you mentioned they're not totally alone. There are other open source models appearing too, like Chai Discovery and Evolutionary Scale. But Latent Labs has some serious heavy hitters backing them, right? People like Google's chief scientist Jeff Dean, Anthropic's CEO Dario Amodei. That tells you the industry sees huge potential here.
Absolutely. Big names, big validation.
Wow, what a deep dive this turned out to be. We've really covered a huge amount of ground today, haven't we? I mean, from AI models tackling these incredibly abstract math problems to the really strategic, high-stakes battles in AI chip design.
And then the sheer scale of everyday adoption, how billions of prompts are flying around.
Right. And finally ending up in this, almost science fiction realm of designing completely new biological molecules from scratch.
Yeah. And for you listening, I think these different stories, they really paint a picture of just how fast, how broad, and sometimes, frankly, how contentious AI progress is right now. These technologies are just leaping out of the research labs and into the real world across so many different sectors. They're starting to profoundly impact everything from, basic science to global business. It's happening incredibly quickly.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Given this explosive speed, this sheer breadth of development we've just talked about, What new, maybe unexpected fields do you think AI is going to fundamentally transform next? And maybe more importantly, what are the big questions we should all be asking as a society as it does?